know people complain all the time about dating in New York City, but as someone who just moved here not even 3 months ago, the biggest difference that I have noticed when it comes to living in Florida, being single in your 30s versus living in New York, being single in your 30s is in Florida, people were looking at me like there was something wrong with me. They're like, oh, we'll find you someone. Like, oh, why are you still single? And in New York, it's celebrated. And it's amazing. And we love it. And people were like, yeah, you should be single in your 30s. And I'm like, you know what? I agree. Thank you so much.
Okay. Pretty girl. Dumb. Sorry to say. So yeah, there's a reason that, again, we're going to talk about liberal versus conservative for a second. New York is these liberal bastions. New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, liberal, right? And you go to Miami in Florida, you'll hear a different story. It's about the delay. Of course, they're celebrating you being single in your 30s because they're also celebrating the boss babe. They're also celebrating, oh, you don't need a man. They're also celebrating, don't worry about having kids. Do that later, if at all. It's such a headache. They're also celebrating, you having a glass of wine every day. They're also celebrating a career climb. They're celebrating all the things that essentially sink society, that make women unhappy, that make men unhappy, that make a union of man and woman less likely to happen. It's the rot of the liberal city. This is what it looks like, right? So of course you're going to go to New York and hear a different story. You go to Florida, probably more in the rural areas, and you're going to hear people saying, oh, you're in your 30s? Okay, it's time to grow up, right? Time to meet a guy, time to settle down. Yeah, it's time to grow up because people used to grow up. In the cities, you've got, like I've said, you've got the 38, 40-year-olds drunk at the bar, crow's feet and all, looking like they just stumbled out of a frat party. It's disturbing. It's weird. It's creepy. You go to places that are more in the country and other places, and you see those same age brackets adulting, right? They've got kids, they've got families, they own homes. You've got your average, 40-plus-year-old in Manhattan living in studio apartments, living in a box they can barely pay for, going out drinking Thursday to Sunday, acting like they never got out of school. They never got out of college. So, and this woman, I will say that for women moving from more conservative areas to more liberal areas, particularly the liberal cities, is the demise of women because they're saturated with the career climb and they're saturated with messaging of delay, 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 delay. The fertility crisis is real. We've talked about that. This is where it happens, right? And you're applauded, right? You're 35 years old, acting like an 18-year-old that's in college, and you're applauded for that in places like New York City. When you go to other places like, say, rural Florida, which I'm sure I don't know where she's from in Florida, but you're going to have people saying, oh, you don't look so good, honey. Why don't you, let's start to get our act together. You want me to introduce you to a nice man? Because that's what you should be doing, right? You're in your 30s acting like it's weird. And I know because I was in New York City at that age and I got caught up in I remember being 32 and being ooh, looking around me and being I can't, what is going on? Because you get caught up and you forget that nobody adults in these places. I've got friends that are 50 and I'm you went to karaoke for 7 hours on a Tuesday? Really? I'm not saying you can't have fun, but is there a point at which the adulting happens and some pieces of your life fit together in an adult fashion? Liberal cities are a wasteland, particularly for young women who get caught up in it and you see their whole lives fall apart. Very common. Very, very common. All right. That's all for today. Thank you for joining me. Say hi to the plants. Don't forget. Also, listen. You guys have to hit the subscribe button. I do a terrible job of reminding you, but you have to hit the subscribe button because a lot of y'all are watching and I love that across all platforms, but you don't hit sub, and subscribing helps me to get advertisers, to get people to support the show so that we can continue to produce content. I have a lot of ideas of really cool stuff to do, but you got to hit subscribe. So can you do that right now? Can you hit that subscribe button and pass it along to one person who needs to hear this channel who will also subscribe? Thank you so much, and we'll see you back here soon.